Did you ever notice how leading resistance efforts in this era can feel like putting a target on your back? We take stands against white supremacy. We stand up for trans rights. We organize against fascism and disinformation. And instead of getting backup, sometimes we just get backlash. Your inbox becomes a war zone. Your integrity is questioned. Your motives are twisted. And sometimes you even get pilloried on social media. Let's be clear. This isn't happening because you're off track. It's happening because you're a threat to the status quo. If you're leading resistance work and you need strategy to survive it, this channel is your companion. Subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss a beat, because here we're building power that lasts. So what do you do when Trump's base is loud, the institutions feel rigged, and even your allies are pulling away? Today, we're going into that rough territory. You'll walk away from this video knowing why backlash is a signal, not a stop sign, how to lead through betrayal without burning out, and why you need a high-level leadership support system to hold you through the fight. I'm Elizabeth Cronise McLaughlin, founder of the Ripple Effect Institute. I've worked with thousands of seasoned progressive leaders over the last 15 years, especially those who have been targeted for doing the right thing loudly. Let's talk about how to keep leading resistance when your work and your character are under attack. There's this line I come back to all the time. If you're catching heat, you're probably hitting the target. And in this second Trump era, that couldn't be more true. The moment you confront fascism, or book bans, or police violence, you will draw heat. Not because you're wrong, but because you're actually doing the work. Let me tell you about a Ripple Effect Institute member who led a major housing justice initiative where she lives. She partnered with local organizations, she ran a citywide education campaign, she centered marginalized voices, and she really got down to brass tacks to try to solve a housing crisis where she lives. And then she got hit hard. Local media spun her as a radical. Local officials tried to silence her. Local business people smeared her name. And even folks in her own coalition got scared and stepped back. But guess what? Within a year, her campaign changed local policy. Local landlords who had been engaging in illegal activity were brought to account. And her messaging became the backbone of a regional housing rights strategy. She still takes heat sometimes. But now, she knows it's a sign that she's doing something right. Resistance invites attack, but when we learn how to tolerate the pressure, that's when we really break through. So let's name something hard. Sometimes the attacks don't come from MAGA. Sometimes they come from inside your own movement. The funder who ghosts you, the collaborator who starts a whisper network to discredit your work, the former comrade who smears your leadership to gain attention for themselves. I've experienced a version of this several times over, and it's never fun. Just by way of one example, years ago, I led a rapid response coalition in response to campus sexual assault policies at my university. The group of us that gathered together to do this, we were fierce. We were incredibly effective. We were loud, and we were really visible. We even pulled off a sit-down strike in the college president's office to try to change campus sexual assault policy. But when the spotlight hit, and the media started covering it, and public outcry from men who didn't like what we were doing got really loud and scary, some of my colleagues buckled. They claimed that our movement had become too ambitious, too polarizing, too demanding. And as the leader of that movement, I became a public target of scorn and humiliation. The public shock of it on a really small college campus almost took me out. It was a really frightening time in my own journey toward creating change. But I learned some really important lessons in that crucible, and they have to do with how you rely on yourself and on your values. Because if you know where your own internal compass is pointing before the crisis hits, those values and those beliefs will guide you through the storm. I tell our Ripple Effect Institute members this all the time, that leadership isn't about perfection, it's about principle. Not everyone will be able to stand with you when you lead through crisis moments and really difficult challenges that put a target on your back. But your integrity in the face of those kind of challenges will attract the people who will. If you've ever looked around and thought, I'm the only one holding this line. I want you to know you're not alone. But it shouldn't be this way. Isolation is one of the most common and dangerous conditions for progressive leaders who are under attack. It can be frightening, destabilizing, and it can make you want to quit the work entirely. When you're isolated, 3 things happen. You start questioning your strategy, you stop asking for help, and your struggle may start to tell you that leaving the work entirely is your only option. But here's the truth. Movements are not meant to be carried by martyrs. They're meant to be built with ecosystems. REI is not a leadership program or a self-help course. It's actually an incubator. It's a high-level community designed for seasoned organizers, directors, and people driven to create big change in this moment. And we meet weekly. We coach live. We don't do performative activism. We do strategy and structure. And honestly, we do a lot of healing. Because pretty much everybody who's joined us in REI at one point or another has had their desire for justice challenged in ways that have done some real harm. We had one REI member who came in shattered after being doxxed and publicly smeared for leading a human rights campaign in her area. She truly thought she was done. And she was struggling with her desire to continue making change in the face of public humiliation efforts by people in her area. But 6 months later, she's mentoring other leaders. She's running her social justice network, and she's continuing to do that work. And she's saying for the first time, I finally feel like I'm not carrying this alone. This is what collective resistance looks like. And this is how we outlast the attacks. We all need high-level community support when we're leading change in this era and when we're leading change that really has the potential to make a difference. So if you're leading resistance in any form, against Trump, against hate, against systems that are trying to silence you, this is your moment to get support. And here's where I get to invite you to book a free strategy call with our team. We'll help you assess where your leadership is strong, spot where it's unraveling under pressure, and see if the Ripple Effect Institute is the next right place for you to get the support you need in your social justice work. Inside REI, you get weekly live coaching with seasoned movement strategists. You get curriculum that is rooted in sustainability, structure, and dismantling systems of power. You get a private community where your leadership is seen, your vision is sharpened, and the support that you get is unrelenting. You don't need to keep doing this alone. And frankly, you shouldn't. The moment where we're leading for change and we come under attack doesn't have to result in us being broken. It's actually a sign that we're building a better world. Because backlash isn't the end of leadership. It's actually a part of the legacy that you're building. It's a sign that you're on the right track and that you're working in the interests of justice. Let's keep building that together. I'll see you next time.